Hello, Rancho Sawadita Living. This is Edwina with Tierra Antigua Realty, and today we have a very special guest. She was actually a featured community member a couple months ago, and Christian Hernandez with Loan Depot and I are going to interview her today because her and her family are actually, they've been quarantined for 3 weeks now. Her husband was diagnosed with COVID like 3 weeks ago, and then like a week later she was. So we thought it was really important, even though she's been doing an amazing job at kind of like vlogging everything on her own through her own Facebook page. For people that don't follow her, we thought it was really important to have her come on and maybe share some of the stuff that she's been going through, what the symptoms were, what they did, to kind of, share this experience with our community. So take it away, Ms. Eva.
All right. What's up, guys? You know what? I'm so thankful actually that we're doing this. I had a lot of people reach out to me after the first Facebook Live that I did when I said my husband tested positive for COVID. And it was the weirdest thing because he never had any symptoms. He just was exposed. And actually, we found out that you can get tested too early and get a negative, but then days later, a week later, end up being positive. And I think that's one thing that's really important for people to know is that if you are exposed and you go the next day to go get tested, it's pointless, because if even this virus can take up to 14 days to get you sick and to show a positive test. This is actually the third time we were exposed to COVID. I had to get tested 3 times. So what we have learned is if you are exposed, quarantine for a few days if you can, or wear an N95 mask if possible. Like if you have to go to work, I know a lot of people's jobs have certain criteria to meet, and it's kind of different. I think a lot of people are following the CDC guidelines, but it's best to wait at least 3 to 5 days after you're exposed. And if it's like my husband was positive, so we weren't going anywhere. So I got tested though, he tested positive actually 2 Saturdays ago. And I got tested Sunday because I had been training and doing boot camp, and I wanted to make sure that nobody else was exposed to the virus. So I got tested just to make sure that I was negative and I had not exposed anybody. I didn't get tested at that point to find out if I was going to end up with Rona. So I just was going to wait it out with my husband and be careful. We isolated him for a week, but it only took maybe 3 or 4 days for me to start. I woke up Wednesday morning with a little like in my chest, and I was like, is that the Rona? And it was Wednesday, Thursday, I woke up with more of like a tight chest. That's what it felt like. And some people say if you take, hold your breath for 10 seconds, right? And if you don't cough, then it's not the Rona. Well, I did that, and I was able to take deep breaths, and I wasn't really having this dry cough or this burning cough that people were talking about. I just had like a little something in my chest. So I actually went and ran like a half a mile. I did a workout in my garage to like break it up on Thursday. And I felt great on Thursday. But then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning, I felt like I was having just insane allergies. I was sneezing. My nose was like congested. I still had that, like I couldn't clear my throat, and I was just like, this is probably allergies, because I don't have a fever, and I don't have this cough that people keep talking about, and I can breathe just fine. So actually though, that Saturday night, so a week after my husband had tested positive, I was like, we were eating dinner, and I was like, babe, I don't think I can taste. I was like, well, maybe because I'm congested, right? I've had allergies before, and it's happened before. Like, you can't really smell, you can't really taste. So we're in the kitchen trying lemons, or I'm trying lemons and different things. And he's like, well, try some salt. So I tried salt, and I'm like, okay, I can taste that. So the next morning, I was still like felt like I had a sinus infection or something, a little headache, but I was congested and sneezing, but I could not taste absolutely anything or smell anything. So my husband's like, just go get tested. It's been 8 days now, and I'm having symptoms. So that's probably the key thing. If you are exposed and it's been 3 to 5 days and you're starting with any kind of symptoms, right, then that might be an indication to go get tested. So I got tested, and sure enough, I drove down so the testing thing, right, is kind of crazy. I know that a lot of people were asking me where I had gotten tested. And really, I believe a lot of doctors' offices, a lot of places are offering testing. I know almost all the urgent cares down here are testing, but FastMed and NextCare are for sure doing testing. The NextCare on Old Spanish Trail up in Tucson is one of the only places that does the rapid test. So there's a rapid test that you can go get tested. It's a swab that they put like in your brain, basically, is what it feels like. Or it's gonna come, it's like they put it so far up there, it feels like it's like hitting my eyeball. So that's why too, you only want to get tested at the least amount of times that you have to, because it's not like something fun. So the NextCare on Old Spanish Trail, you can call ahead of time, but when I tried to make an appointment, they said that they are only doing appointments only for rapid testing, and that it's by the doctor's discretion. And I found out though that in Nogales, the NextCare down there, that's where my husband got tested, and that they were rapid testing patients that were having symptoms. And so when I went down there, all you have to do is call them ahead of time, tell them, hey, I'm having symptoms with COVID. Do you guys have rapid tests? You have to ask them if they have rapid tests. They'll also ask you what your insurance is, because not all insurance carriers cover the rapid test. I know all insurances will cover some type of COVID test, but they don't all cover the rapid test. They give you results in 15 minutes. So if you get a regular test, it depends on, I know for a while you were waiting 10 to 2 weeks for your COVID results. And so you call them ahead of time. You just say, hey, I'm having symptoms. I was exposed to somebody. I think I have COVID. Then they took my information over the phone. They set me an appointment, which was like an hour later, and takes 40 minutes to drive down there. So I drove down there, I called them when I got there, and they asked me a few questions, and they met me through the back door. They had me go through the back door. You have to wear a mask, and it's very simple. Sat down, they swabbed me again, and they checked my swab. They're like, okay, we'll give you your results in 15 minutes. I was like, I really have to pee. So I got up and I went to the bathroom. It was only like a few minutes. I'd come out and they were tying up the doctor's gown, and he had a face shield on, and that didn't happen the first time, the week before that I had went there. So I'm like, I'm probably positive. And sure enough, I walked in and they came right in. It only took a few minutes, I guess, to get my positive result. And that was last Sunday, so a week ago. We're heading into week 3 of quarantine now. Yeah. So my
so
kids.
when did you have to get tested again?
So now the CDC actually recommends, if you have mild to moderate symptoms, after 10 days of quarantine, you're good. Or they say after 3 days of no symptoms, you're good and you're not required to have a retest.
Oh.
So, but for my family, since my husband was positive 2 weeks ago, and then just last week, I was with my kids because my husband was in isolation, and so I was the one taking care of the kids, but I was kind of clearing my throat, sneezing. So this was last Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and so we're still giving it the next week. At least I am. My husband's got clearance to go back to work, even though I had COVID, I guess. That he was fine to go back to work, but then he had to take a day off just a couple of days ago because I was like, dude, I cannot do this by myself with the kids. Like he went back to work and he was only there it was his first day. And that was when I was really experiencing a lot of the lightheadedness and the dizziness. So Sunday, when I tested positive, I actually that night started feeling better. But then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That lightheadedness, the dizziness was just, that was probably the worst part because I was feeling my symptoms were better. Like I didn't have a headache. I might have had a little sore throat, but I felt good enough that I wanted to get up and walk around and go do things. But then I would take the kids for a walk in the morning and I just would start feeling lightheaded and just, it's a very weird, indescribable feeling of just, I just felt like I was not in control of my body. Like I needed to force myself to sit down. That was the scariest part of it all. And my symptoms were mild. I can't imagine what somebody with moderate to severe symptoms might be experiencing with this whole thing. Not even just with like the physical symptoms, but with the anxiety that is attached to COVID, you know? So much is unknown about it. No, like even the doctors are trying to figure out all of the symptoms and stuff. That anxiety of just the unknown, right? And I probably over the weekend was like the worst part for me was, okay, am I going to take a turn for the worse, right? I'm feeling lightheaded. I'm feeling dizzy. Some people say that that could be from blood clots or like low blood pressure. You need to check your heart rate. You need to check your oxygen levels. And it's all very true. I'm thankful my friend Glenda, who's a nurse, she got me a pulse ox, which is a reader. You put your finger in there and it reads your oxygen level and your heart rate. So that gave me so much peace of mind because that's one of the big things doctors are saying is you can actually have very low oxygen levels, but be acting fine. And like before you know it, you just boom, take a turn for the worse the next day or something. They're calling it happy hypoxia or something like that. The doctors are having patients coming in and they are seeing that their oxygen levels are way low, but the patient's acting like pretty normal. And so that's something that's really dangerous. So I'm not sure, I think she got the pulse ox at Walmart or something, but that gave me a lot of peace of mind because the doctors that I would talk to over the phone, they said that's the first thing they would ask. With the lightheadedness and the dizziness, what is your heart rate at and what's your oxygen level at? And since my oxygen levels, they stayed at 98 the entire time, sometimes 99, they said, yep, that's just like the lightheadedness and the dizziness is just a symptom of like the tail end of COVID. And I have another friend who's a very wise older man who's a doctor. And I actually talked to him yesterday and he said that like COVID can, like, it gets into your head. Like it can mess with you. I know that there's some people that are even in the hospital. Something like it causes some brain inflammation. Like this thing is like, at first I was like, this is not a big deal for me, right? Like I'm hardly coughing or whatever, but just like the after effects of like my mind, I couldn't sleep over the weekend. I was having nightmares. I was waking up in the middle of the night, which is so unreal for me. Like that's not what usually happens to me. And I have stayed on routine. I have been eating healthy. I've been reading my Bible in the morning. Like I've been staying on routine. So it's been very, when you do all that you know how to do and you take care of your body and you eat healthy and you take vitamins and things that you're like, okay, I'm taking care of myself. I am sick and I'm taking care of myself. But like it's out of your, only so much is in our control, you know? And I think I had a really hard time with that towards the end was like, that this is so out of my control, you know? I mean, here we are going into week 3 of quarantine and life has just come to a screeching halt really for us, you know? It's crazy.
So what recommendations do they give you for your children?
Well, anybody that tests positive for COVID is supposed to isolate for 10 days. Or depending on their symptoms, I guess. If it's mild, it's 10 days. But honestly, like, that was not a possibility for me with my kids. Now, when I was with my kids, though, I didn't. When my husband tested positive, I assumed I was positive also. So I didn't share drinks with them. I tried to not breathe on them. I wore a mask when I made their food, or if I tried to balance some sort of normalcy, but also being very careful. Really, if I had the flu, would I be hugging and kissing them? And you know what I mean? Just thinking about previous times when I was really sick. But my kids are, so I have 11, a 2 and a 4-year-old. And so the 2 and the 4-year-old, they already had their dad in isolation for a few days. And they were crying and they missed him. It's really hard for them to understand. So I had to be the parent still, and they like to sleep with me or to have me lay with them and fall asleep with them. So I did my very best. And I think that added to my anxiety a lot too, during that time, trying to care for my family, care for my husband, but also worrying about just their health too, and my own health. It's an emotional roller coaster, and I'm so thankful to God that we had mild symptoms and my kids are seem to be okay. I mean, we still have another week to say that we are COVID free, but we've been taking a lot of different our vitamins and supplements. There's some things, I guess, that there's a whole regime for COVID. Oh, hi. There's one of them. There's a regime actually for COVID. Do you want me to share that with you, what the doctor has told me?
Yes, please.
So, no, baby. So, my husband, who didn't have any coughing symptoms or anything, they didn't prescribe him anything. They just, because when he got tested, he had no symptoms, and he kind of continued with just a headache, couldn't smell, couldn't taste, and a little bit of congestion. But he also experienced the lightheadedness, the some of the dizziness, and having trouble sleeping and stuff towards the end. But he was done by day 10. But he got a whole week of isolation and rest, and me making his meals and stuff. So when I tested positive, the doctor said, "Hey, your lungs sound clear, but what have been some of your symptoms?" He could tell, I had looked just kind of congested, and I told him I had a little in my throat. And he said, okay, and a little cough maybe. So he said, all right, we're prescribing azithromycin, which is a Z-Pack. It's a 5-day high antibiotic, and some steroids, which is an inflammatory or anti-inflammatory, and which is supposed to help with the lungs and stuff, but also recommended Pepsid, which I thought was really weird, but they're finding something with Pepsid, the generic brand actually. It starts with an S, and I'll give it to you. I forget exactly how I don't even want to try to pronounce it. We've got Aubrey trying to do a workout back here. Sorry. So those 3 things to take. And then, though, what we started on as a family, they also said zinc. And one doctor told me zinc, 50 milligrams, I believe, but we were taking probably taking about 50 milligrams a day. I put one in half for my kids twice a day, once in the morning, once at night. I got these zinc tablets at Walmart. They're you pop them, they're almost look like a Tums, but they're a little thinner, and you chew them up real quick. They practically dissolve in your mouth. So we were taking that a few times a day. We've been on those now this will be the 3rd week. We kept our diet very clean because sugar can feed these viruses and bacteria. And if our pH levels aren't nice and balanced, if it's really acidic or something, our bodies have a hard time fighting those viruses. So we kept our diet very clean, no sugar. There was no cookies or crackers, maybe a little bit of crackers and stuff for the kids, but really eggs and, the triple Oreo 000 yogurt, maybe some cottage cheese, and like lean proteins, like chicken or ground turkey, maybe some ground beef, but we kept everything like rice or sweet potatoes, or like we kept everything very clean for the kids and for us, and also drank our, we've been using this green power shake for years now. I started drinking it when I was pregnant with Aubrey and still working out. So we've been doing that daily, and maybe even a couple of times having those green shakes. So really like,
nourishing the body.
Yeah, what can we control in this situation? We can't control much, but what can we do? And so we have just been really focusing on keeping our bodies healthy as possible, giving it its best chance to fight this virus, you know?
Wow, that's crazy. I'm so glad that you guys had mild symptoms, but even though it still sounds like it was so stressful.
Yeah. I think that was the biggest thing. I'm not somebody who likes to just sit around. I'm not a resting person. Like stationary rest is not my thing. My thing of like, when you say rest, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go for a run, or I'm gonna go and do a workout by myself with some worship music on, you know, or things that like re-energize me and refresh my soul. Go to church or whatever. Like, it's not lay in bed and watch Netflix. That was something different too for me.
You have been so inspirational to us, where we see what you do every day, but now we see that you're going through something that a lot of us are afraid of. And, having you share what you've been going through, and we know that it will be different for everybody, right? But it is very inspiring to know that you have gone through it and some way have been able to control it. And I think that, me and Edwina were talking, and although that you're sharing it on your stories on Facebook, and I'm very sure like a lot of people follow you, we thought that it was important to share it in the group and make sure that everybody gets to hear that. Yeah. And what would you say, to people that are afraid of it? Because I can tell you I haven't had it, but I do freak out sometimes. Like I still go out, mask and hand sanitizer, and we're trying to be precautious, but I also understand that it's a virus and it can be anywhere. So what would you, say to us, to everybody?
That is actually like a great question, and that's really why I shared just my story, and that's why I just do what I do in general. I just want to help people, meet people where they're at, and I want to just, if what I go through in life, whether it's fitness, it's in my face, or it's here with this virus, I just hope people would just take something from my experience, right? And so this virus, it's real, and honestly, even if it's not going to be bad for you, it could potentially be bad for somebody else. Wash your hands, wear your mask, stay socially distanced, especially if you have some kind. We are very healthy, my family. And, but if you have, I know that most of the people that are getting complications from this thing, diabetes, or, like there's other things, other little key things in there. But I mean, it's a real thing. And we have actually stayed, we haven't been going to like big parties and stuff like that. We've been trying to find a balance between mental health and physical health, and being, being considerate of other people. Now, when I came out and said I had COVID, I found out a lot of people I know have also had COVID, but they didn't want to say anything because there is this taboo little thing attached to COVID. And I'm not quite, I'm not putting words in their mouth, but they didn't say anything because they didn't want anybody to know. They didn't want people to either judge them or be afraid of them, or You know, there's so much happening around this whole COVID thing, right? Yes, it's a virus and it is killing people, but girl, let me tell you, I've been a germaphobe since I had my second baby, and so every cold and flu season, I am like, it's a pandemic for me, okay? Like, I am like, stay away from us, wash your hands, like, don't touch your face. Like, if anybody has boogers or a cough, I'm like, we're out of here. Like, I am just crazy like that. But I found out that a lot of people I know have actually had COVID. People with underlying health conditions also, or people who are not very healthy have had this and might have had, I had a couple of friends who I didn't even know were in the hospital for it. And they live here in Sarita. And, but they made it, you know? So I think there is so much focus on this virus is deadly. Yes, it is, but so many more people are beating this virus. And I think, though, it's important, just like anything else, right? You don't want to go around and give somebody the flu or strep throat, or that's inconsiderate as well, right? But this one is, we don't know much about it. There's so much anxiety and fear attached to it, which I feel is valid. So yes, like, be careful, wash your hands. But if you do catch it, there's a very good chance that you will fight through it. Especially anybody out there that is afraid of catching this virus. Right now, you can start to eat healthy. Go for a walk, move your body, cut sugars, alcohol, and crap food that you know you shouldn't be eating. You can start doing that right now. That is in your control. Start taking like a multivitamin. Start drinking some kind of green smoothie every day, right? Like, start taking care of yourself. Start building the immunity now. Start strengthening your immune system, your body, your lungs now. So if you do catch it, hopefully you have a better chance at fighting it. And I'm sure a lot of people will. And that's what I'm finding out is not everybody that's catching it is, number one, saying anything, and number two, a lot of people that are catching it are actually getting better. It's a wicked virus, though, with lasting effects, especially in your lungs, is what else I'm learning for who knows how long. So I'm not trying to take away from the seriousness that this is, but I would also like people to consider, like, don't allow it to grip your life in fear and stop you from living, you know? It doesn't have to be, for most healthy people, one extreme or the other, you know? Like, I'm just gonna stay home and not talk to anybody and really, like, risk my mental health just because of this. Like, for my family, we're trying to find a good balance of mental health and physical health and being considerate of other people. So yeah, like, wear your mask. Like, I say wear your mask, even if you're thinking, oh, it doesn't work. Who cares? If it makes somebody else feel a little safer, and if you are not an epidemiologist or working for the CDC, then just wear your dang mask, right? Like, so just little things that we can all do together as a community to be considerate of one another. Because what I'm afraid of, just because I don't have the same fear as you, does not make your fear less than mine. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that we all have to really consider when we're talking to other people. Just because we're not in the same situation, just because we haven't experienced what somebody has experienced, does not mean that we just dismiss it and that we say, oh, well, that's stupid, or that's less than what's happening with me, right? I think we can kind of get caught up in our own bubbles of our importance and what's important to us, and everybody else is kind of like, that's not as important. But I think it's really important, and it's really a great opportunity to come together as a community, as just people here and everywhere, to do what is right for the greater good of everyone, and that's mental health and physical health, and it's definitely not shaming one party or the other, one side or the other, because they don't fully agree with you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So,
and I think that was kind of what Christian and I had in mind with having you come and just share your experience and your positivity, so that people maybe don't have to fear it as much, have respect for it. Absolutely have respect for it. Have respect, because it is a serious thing to worry about, but don't let it overtake your life.
Right.
And like you said, and kind of just have respect for it, so that you can, go out into the community and still somehow enjoy your life and have somehow of a normality, but still be aware of it,
Yeah.
And like you said, you made a really good point. Even if you don't believe in the mask, wear it, because it might make somebody else feel better. That's all we can ask for. It's a small community, and we can just do the very best we can, and we're gonna all get through this somehow, some way.
Yeah, it's the new normal now. Just I think, like, too often nobody likes change, but the people who can adapt and the people who can see obstacles as opportunities to grow in life, this is the life that we are living, and this is gonna be our new normal. And when I think that's acceptance is the first step in that, like, okay, well, this is our new normal, and this COVID thing is not going away, no matter how hard I wish it would. What are some things that I can do? Take steps forward now. You don't have to be paralyzed in fear and just stay here. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing you and your family's experience. It really means a lot to us, and I hope that other people can see this video and learn, and maybe shed a little bit of that fear that you've had. And like I said, have respect for it, but maybe don't be so paralyzed, like you said, and be able to still...
Or maybe just take action. Like, as she said, start nourishing your body, eating better, walking, working out, just start now, because it is a serious matter, but we can fight it back.
I know that right now you're in quarantine and you're making yourself and your family healthy, but when you are better, people can reach out to you, because I know you're still doing your boot camps, and you have your page where you're sharing healthy recipes and stuff. So that's, one way that I know you're always very supportive of the community, and this might actually be even a much better time for people to reach out to you and start living a healthier lifestyle, and maybe even feel better about it and have one less fear, because they know they're stronger and healthier.
Yeah, so I have, my Instagram is Eva What Up, my Facebook Eva What Up, but I do women's boot camp programs. I also do online coaching. I do some online challenges that are about 4 weeks, and that's kind of what these online challenges are for. I help you get more into a healthy lifestyle routine. I do give you 3 workouts a week, but I also put a devotional in there every day, because I believe faith and mindset is it's the number one most important thing that's going to help you get started, but also help you sustain faith and a healthy mindset. So I just kind of bring faith, food, and fitness all into one for a 4-week online program, and it's a group setting. I give away a prize every week to kind of help you guys stay engaged and inspired. I help you figure out your food stuff, and we really have a great time in those groups. That's really, I feel like, where a lot of my heart is helping women, just meeting them where they're at, and simplifying a routine, simplifying the food. And I always tell this to my girls, we're not trying to make bikini models or like bodybuilders. So I just really want to simplify. I believe everybody should be able to have access to coaching with food and workouts and stuff. So that's really like where my heart is, just simplifying all of this that seems to be so confusing for everybody, but keeping it simple, you know.
Well, thank you for everything that you do, and we'll keep you and your family in all of our prayers. I'm glad that
Thank you.
Looks like you're moving forward and making some good progress.
Yes, I'm feeling so much better actually today. The weekend was kind of crazy, but I finally, my husband took the days off of work, and I stayed in bed and watched Netflix for like 2 days. And now today I woke up and I'm like, I feel completely better today. So yes, thank you for your prayers, and thank you for having me on here, ladies. It's always great talking with you guys. I appreciate the community that you guys, create online, but also what else you guys do for the community. I think it's great. So thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.
All right, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.